Yo, what's going on, everybody? You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for clicking on today's video as we have some major New York Giants news to discuss. We got to talk about Bill Belichick. We also have Diana Russini of The Athletic giving us a peek behind the curtain of what is going on right now at 1925 Giants Drive. Some John Mara talk, some head coach talk, and some Joe Schoen talk. And we also know who is going to be playing and who is going to be out. Some major updates on Kayvon Thibodeaux and more. Let's start with the head coaching search, and let's start with Bill Belichick. This is why you subscribe. If you're not subscribed, hit that big red sub button. Even when it's our off day, we're getting you a video no matter what. All right. So there had been some smoke about the Giants potentially getting in contact with Bill Belichick about this job, and obviously there's ties. We all know the ties. The defensive coordinator for over a decade, won Super Bowls here, very successful, and he loves the New York Giants, and the New York Giants supposedly love him. So there is that. And I thought it would be the most New York Giants thing ever for John Mara, with the state of the New York Giants being at one of the lowest points it's been. He calls Bill Belichick to save the Giants. And I thought that was a possibility, but it doesn't sound like we're going to be walking in that direction. Bill Belichick released a statement saying, "I have great respect and genuinely care for the New York Giants organization and both the Mara and Tisch families. The New York Giants played an important role in my life and in my coaching journey. It was a privilege for me to work for the Mara family and be a member of Coach Parcells' staff for over a decade. However, despite circulating rumors, I have not and will not pursue any NFL head coaching vacancies. Since arriving in Chapel Hill, my commitment to the UNC football program has not wavered. We have tremendous support from the university, our alumni, and the entire Carolina community. My focus remains solely on continuing to improve this team, develop our players, and build a program that makes Tar Heels fans proud. We're on to Wake Forest." So Bill Belichick is taking himself out of the running to be the next head coach for the New York Giants. And I think this could be for a multitude of reasons. I think first and foremost, he probably knew that there would be chatter about the Giants reaching out to him, but I don't necessarily think at this time that they were. And I think that he is getting ahead of this to make himself not have to go through a situation where the New York Giants weren't interested in him. And how does his brand, his image, and his recruiting all factor into this as well? I know Diana Russini talked about it in her article, saying, as for the Giants, they already have a short list of candidates to replace him, talking about Brian Dable, the kind every organization keeps in a drawer for moments like this. Despite the obvious connections to six-time Super Bowl champion Bill Belichick and the organization's respect for his accomplishments, I'm told he was never on their radar and wouldn't have been now, something that was true well before his statement. So maybe Belichick caught when the Giants weren't interested, maybe not. At this point, it doesn't sound like it matters all too much. Bill Belichick is not going to be the next head coach for the New York Giants. So before we continue to talk on today's video, I want to hear from you. Who do you want to be the next head coach for the Giants? Sound off for me down below. Also, it was reported the two sides never had any communication about New York's vacancy. It wasn't happening. Russini also wrote, "I'm also told there haven't been any serious meetings yet between ownership and GM Joe Schoen about the traits they want in their next head coach. Schoen is leading the search. He's on a 5-year deal set to expire in 2026, so long-term certainty isn't guaranteed. Schoen will get a full review at the end of the season as John Mara and Giants brass evaluate the best course of action for the future of the organization. Still, most around the league think Schoen will be safe because of how high he's regarded by ownership." So a couple of things to point out there. One, this is why you subscribe. We told you guys that Joe Schoen was not 100% safe as the Giants general manager, and we also told you he was going to be reevaluated once the season is over. Now, multiple sources are saying that. I do think it is the most likely outcome that he is going to be the GM going forward, but there's 7 games to go. And a lot can change over 2 months for the New York Giants in the way that John Mara is feeling. And it sounds like he's going to be reviewed by ownership once the season is over. There has been reports that have also come out that if the New York Giants feel as if they can't get their top head coach candidate because that candidate does not want to work with Joe Schoen, they could then move on from Joe Schoen. So despite the New York Giants statement on Tuesday, Monday, whenever they fired Brian Daboll, that they were rolling with Schoen, there seems to be some cracks in that now, and it may not 100% be true, which, in my opinion, would be great news for the New York Football Giants. Let's look ahead to game day. Giants playing the Packers this Sunday. They come in as, I think it was 7-point underdogs. I checked earlier this week, and they're going to be out some big-time players. We know Jaxson Dart is not going to play. He was back at practice in a limited capacity on Thursday, at least doing some warm-ups, had helmet and shoulder pads on. I think there's a chance that he can play in the New York Giants' next game. Then you have Chauncey Golston. He has missed a handful of games. He's dealing with a neck injury. Evan Neal is missing because of a hamstring injury. When did he get hurt? And you're down 2 more starters for sure. Darius Slayton, a hamstring injury. The second time he will have missed games, not in a row, second stints of being inactive due to that same hamstring injury. And Kayvon Thibodeaux is going to miss his first game of the season with a shoulder. So no Thibodeaux, no Slayton, no Dart. And it sounds like Tyler Nubin and Rakeem Nunez-Roches are going to miss the game as well. Nubin is doubtful with a neck injury. No player that's been doubtful on game day for the Giants this year has played. And Nacho, Rakeem Nunez-Roches, he is doubtful as well with a toe injury. So you're down safety, a defensive tackle, and an outside linebacker for sure. And you're going up against a Packers team that wants to get back to running the football this week with Josh Jacobs. It sounds like Paulson Adebo is going to return after missing the last handful of games. That should help the Giants in the secondary when it comes to defending the pass. And Bobby Okereke, who has not practiced all week, he has been listed as questionable with a shoulder. I would assume he's closer to doubtful than questionable, but he might try to tough it out, which means he's going to be limited due to his injury, but he may not even play for sure. So you could be down another player inside the box trying to slow down the run. I know we haven't talked a lot about the game this week. It's been a crazy week. It's been a crazy, crazy week, and there's some things to look forward to. I think it's a head coach debate in a sense while also being an interview. Mike Kafka, the interim head coach for the Giants, his first game. How is he going to dial it up? How is he going to scheme it up? How is he going to be able to turn water into wine with a backup quarterback and a lot of injuries on this roster? And he is going to be going up mano-a-mano against the defensive coordinator for the Packers, Jeff Hafley. So those two guys will be competing against each other to put the best things on tape and try to win over this front office, because I think Kafka has a real shot to be the head coach next year. I think Hafley has a huge shot to be the head coach next year. And not that a win for the Giants does this or that, but you want to make a good impression, and I think both will have an opportunity to do so. We will be live on the channel for that ball game. We'll go live at about 11:45 a.m. Game kicks off at 1, so an hour and 15 early. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, turn on those notifications, and let's go Giants.